Hey, welcome back to the 50/50 Showcase. This is it, the moment you've been waiting for. It's taken a year, but we are finally here, number 50. And this is my signature character, my very first OG level 50 back from 2005, I think is when I got her to level 50. Of course, I had to remake her here in Homecoming, but this is Dark Current, my triple D, although now it's a DDS, Dark Soul Defender, the OG debuffing defender character power set combo in the game. Lots of to hit debuffery, lots of just control, lots of just putting enemies down for the count. Let's take a look at her build. Let me tell you what I went for, what the idea was, and share all the goodies on the inside. All right, let's take a look at mids. All right, so mids, we've got several different things I want to point out to you here. So the first thing is, I'm looking at the just the choices for powers that I went ahead and went with. And you'll notice Dark Miasma, I've got just about everything, signature that is, with the exception of I did not take Petrifying Gaze, which is your single target hold. Reason for that is I didn't need it because I have Soul Mastery and I've grabbed Soul Storm, which is the single target hold from that ancillary power set, the Patron Pool. So I didn't need two single target holds. I also have Dark Servant who has a hold already, so I get enough control. If I need a single target hold something, I mean, really that's not what this character's about, so no big deal there. Black Hole did not take, never will. It's right up there for me with Dimension Shift and Gravity Control. Worst power options in the game. Faux intangibles, total garbage, total trash. I don't care what edge case you come up with, why it should be used or shouldn't be. No, there's always a better option, right? Anytime you take your own players, your own teammates out of the game, like what? That is the dumbest mechanic I've ever seen in my life. So don't ever take Black Hole or Dimension Shift. Then we got Dark Blast. I got most of those. I did not take the AoE splash targeted stun with Dark Pit. It has a low mag. That's really not the big reason for not taking it. Mostly just because I wasn't going for a control build here. Most of what my emphasis is with Dark Current is debuffing the bejesus out of enemies so that she doesn't get hit or teammates can't get hit. And even if they do get hit, I still have lots of resistance, defense, and a heal to back myself up. So I wasn't worried about stunning. I do have other Dark Miasma builds, Dark Blast builds where I do leverage the stuns and the stackable stun type of thing, but not on this one. Torrent, not that this power is lousy or whatever, it's just a cone knockback with some minus to hit as well. The thing here is, you can turn this into a knockdown easy enough with just the proc, like sudden acceleration or whatever. I just didn't need it. I've got enough of other, attacks and powers. I wasn't worried about turning this into a cone monster. You can certainly do this with Dark Miasma. You can use tentacles. Nightfall Torrent is a 1, 2, 3, just cone combo, and there's nothing wrong with that. You throw in Fearsome Stare and throw in a damage proc on that. You can have a little bit more cone damage, all from range, just blasting away, having a good old time. Just wasn't what I was going for with this one. The cones, like Nightfall's a little bit short for just relying upon a pure cone build. Same with Sneeber's Tentacles. That's got a range of 40 feet on it. And let me go ahead and pop up this video, or not pop up this pop up video, pop up this window here. So you got Nightfall here. If you take a look, the range on this is 60 feet. Scoot that up so you can see it a little bit better. Oops, wrong one. Scoot this up so you can see it better. There we go. So you got 60-foot range here with Nightfall. You could, that's not bad. That'll, actually mine's a 69 based upon my slotting. But Tentacles is not great. 40-foot reach there, 40-foot range, 46 with my slotting. Uh, you know, so if you're going to go ahead and try to come up with some sort of build based on cones, you kind of want them all to be the same distance. Torrent here is 80. So you'd have 80, 60, 40. That makes it a little bit hard to rely on. Fearsome Stare, I think, is even bigger than that. That's another 80-foot, 70-foot cone. So if you were trying to do cone-based, dark blasty thing, it's doable. Just be aware that they're all different lengths, so it's harder to to leverage that as a consistent combo. That wasn't what I went for. So, hey, what did I go for? Let's look at that. Miasma, I've got Twilight Grasp. Duh. With Twilight Grasp, you'll see I six slotted that thing with Touch of Nictus. One of those being the damage proc for that. Let me turn the pop-ups back on. So the chance for energy damage. The big thing here, and with a lot of the power sets that I chose, is I was trying to get a bunch of different damage resistant types as I could, because I'm trying to make this a highly survivable character. You'll see that I have a lot of minus to hit debuff, so that I'm not going to get hit that often, and there's a good chunk of minus damage on top of that, but I've got lots of resistance I was building for. So Touch of Nictus, with six slotting, you get the energy negative and some Mez resistance, which is another thing I was trying to get as much Mez protection, status protection as I could. But it also has some other good stuff here. Extra hit points is nice, accuracy, boosting heal, max endurance. Endurance is going to be one of the problems with this character. She's got a lot of toggles that she's running, and a blast are firing away. So a lot of the stuff is going to be draining, draining, draining all day long. So she can run out of blue pretty quickly if she's not careful. So Twilight Grasp, six slot, do a little extra damage, and a big old juicy heal out of that. Then I've got Tar Patch. The good thing with Tar Patch is that you've got the minus resistance on this. Let me go ahead and pop up the window again. So here with Tar Patch, you can see that you're going to get the minus speed, the minus resistance, the minus fly. The minus resistance is the big thing. So when you lay down this patch, and it's pretty big, you get a minus 30% damage resistance on the target. So you're going to be doing essentially 30% more damage, which is a nice boost because that doesn't get capped by your archetype damage caps and such. So, and everybody's getting a damage boost of that. So that's like giving everybody an extra, you know, pretty much a level 50 SO, I think, are 33% boost. So that's a sizable boost damage for the whole stinking team. So Tart Patch, awesome power. You'll notice I Franken slotted that one a little bit. I was going for endurance recharge and slow from tempered readiness. Same thing with the pacing of the turtle because you want to get this power out as often as you can. So the recharge is nice. The slow, of course, to keep the enemies from moving out of it. And then endurance is an issue because the power itself costs a decent chunk. Out of the box, it's what, 7.8. So I've got it down to 5-ish. If you're dropping this thing, what, every 30, 40 seconds at the 40 seconds, you can't really be affording dropping this thing repeatedly and it's draining a bunch of endurance from you. I did get the second of the pacing of the turtle in there, so that gives me the toxic and psi resistance boosts. So that's the other thing I was going for on that one. Again, some Franken slotting here. You're going to see in order to get some little bit of overall boosting every stat that I can possibly, that I want to boost in a power. So endurance, recharge, slow, of course, but also try to get some of those set bonuses. That's, one reason why you would want to Frankenslot is you're trying to boost as many different stats that power has, but at the same time, you neglect some of your set bonuses. So if you can kind of mix and match and leverage both sides of the equation, that's your optimal scenario. Unless you just want straight set bonuses, which you need to get those 4, 5, 6 of a slot bonuses. Those later ones, especially defense and recharge, usually found in the fifth and sixth slots. I wasn't really going for recharge or defense on this character. I don't really need to on the defense side because of all the minus to hit, which you're going to see. In recharge, I've got enough recharge. I got enough things I'm slinging around here. I don't need to be throwing even more. Anyway, that's Tar Patch. Darkest Night, there's another one of your big signature powers in Miasma. It's got the minus damage, the minus to hit on it. It's a toggle power. So it is going to drain your endurance. If you take a look at the numbers based upon the slotting, I went ahead and grabbed Dampened Spirits, 4-slotted that, which gives me some damage boost. It gives me some endurance, max endurance, because I want to try to get as much endurance I can, as much recovery as I can. And then again with the fourth slot, I've got some damage resistance. I've got some meds resistance in there, trying to minimize incoming damage, minimize how long I'm going to be held or slept or whatever. But if you take a look at the raw numbers on Darkest Night, it's got a beautiful almost 30% debuff to hit. And then the overlooked thing is it has a minus 37.5 damage debuff. So incoming damage from targets that are wearing your toggle or in its aura are doing 37.5% less damage. That's huge. So not only are they going to be hitting you less often, but even when they do hit you, they're going to be hitting for less oomph when they land those hits. So that combined with the high resistances you see that I'm going to have, and the fact that I have three ways of healing myself, this character is very survivable, as is the entire team, because this toggle is going to benefit the whole team. I think Dark Miasma is one of those sets that is sort of unsung, hero buff debuff sets out there for supporting your team because it does so much that is invisible. The minus to hit, the minus damage. Your allies aren't really noticing it. It's not big old flashy, fulcrum shift or transfusions or transference type of things like with kinetics. It's not like shields and bubbles, that sort of stuff, or big old green flashy numbers with a bunch of the heal sets or whatever. Nature's got all these little things floating out there. You're just this smoky darkness, which is debuffing the heck out of your enemies so that they don't hit you or they hit you for less damage, and people don't usually notice that. All right, then you got Shadow Falls, another one of your, signature powers. You pretty much have to take this one, in my opinion. It's giving you stealth, of course, but not just you. The whole team is getting stealth. It gives you defense for everybody. You get resistance to energy, negative, and psionics. Psionic resistance is big because not very many power sets have psionic resistance. And then the other thing that's often overlooked, I think, is the fact that it has fear resistance in it. Because I think there's a lot of armor sets out there for brutes and tanks that have a fear hole in them. So this gives you this natural resistance to fear. And there's a few enemies out there that do fear regularly, especially at the higher level stuff. Think like what is it when you run into longbow and the wardens got the illusion wardens and they're throwing out what was it, phantasm or whatever, spectral terror, I think it is. That's usually nasty and can keep your allies pinned down for several seconds while they're getting walloped. So if you're around them with Shadowfall, it's no big deal. All right, so that's the big thing there, and I've got that slotted pretty heavily with Aegis's. I've got what the whole set just about, except for I don't have the endurance recharge on it, but I do have the unique. I've got the psi and status resistance on there, which is a nice. I think that's unique, right? Let me just double check on that one. Is that unique? Actually, no, it is not unique. It doesn't appear to be. So yeah, you can stack that one more than once. I thought it was unique with Aegis. Maybe I'm thinking one of the other sets. Hmm, interesting. Anyway, unless I'm mistaken, but long story short, I want more Mez protection, so I've got the Aegis Psionic and status resistance sitting in here. If it is stackable, which I didn't think it was, let me just double check. Because if I, yeah, okay, it is stackable because I've got it here. Or no, it's got it grayed out. All right, so yeah, it is unique. I thought it was unique. Can only use it one at a time. All right, so I don't know why it's not showing up as unique on the list here. Anyway, Shadowfall, I've got that with Aegis. You see, I've also got that in Tough. I've also got it in Dark Embrace, my epic set armor. So I've got three different armors that I'm wearing here, and each one is, resistance slotted. Each one has Aegis. Each one with Aegis is giving me some defense for fire cold as well as AoE. It's giving me resistance to smash and lethal, plus more mez protection. It's giving me defense for AoE, fire, and cold. Yeah, I got the extra psi resistance. So I'm stacking all this stuff. Tough is giving me some more smash lethal resistance. Dark Embrace, when we take a look at the patron set I've picked, that's got smash lethal, negative, and toxic. So I've got all these stacked layers. It gives me a really, scrappery, I don't want to say brute or tank. I don't think it's that high level, but you have some pretty high levels, cap levels for defenders anyway, 75% with smash and lethal and negative and etc. We'll take a look at those numbers in a little bit. Then I went ahead and the other big power you get from Dark Miasma, Fearsome Stare. I mean, this one's pretty much your, I don't say it's a lockdown control, but this is your, whole group of enemy control power. You hit them with a fear. But beyond the fear, it has a pretty strong minus to hit debuff in it. I have slotted it for fear with Nightmare set so that I'm getting some more defense, as you can see. I'm getting some more fire cold resistance out of this. I'm getting some accuracy out of this. You want to have accuracies, dark miasma, so that your heal can hit. Right, so that's important as well as your fearsome stare hitting. But again, get some more defense, get some more resistances. But this minus to hit is often, I think, overlooked. You can slot fearsome stare for minus to hit, and if you take a look at the numbers here in the pop out window on fearsome stare, the minus to hit is 1875. Right, that's pretty huge because darkest night was sitting at around 29-ish. That's slotted for 29-ish. Fearsome Stare not slotted for tit debuff is only about 10 less than that. So you add those two together, right? You're at what, 50% debuff or something onto hit. That's massive. You open with Fearsome Stare, you drop, Darkest Night. Your enemies are already down by minus 50% to hit roughly. And then if they do start hitting you, they're feared, so they're not getting, constant fire, fire, fire. They're, cowering in fear, so it slows down their incoming damage. And then, of course, you've got the Darkest Night doing the low debuffing the damage numbers itself by 37.5. All right, last couple powers in. Don't know why I put those on. I had to pause the video for a second and get my dog to stop barking and came back through my headphones on. So prior to you, it looked like magic. Anyway, I don't need my headphones on. So you have those two main powers are kind of like opener powers to debuff. And then you've got what is it? Howling Twilight's another huge power that you can open with actually. It's a little bit riskier, I'll say, because it doesn't have a huge stun mag on it. But if you take a look at it, it does have this mag 2 stuns that'll take down your lieutenants and your minions that you're fighting against. If you take a look at the numbers there, right? It does have a fear effect as well, mag 3, so that can stack up with the fearsome stare. It has a big slow chunk, so that can stack up with your tar patch. Uh, and the reason you want to open with it, well, aside from those things, is the big thing is this thing debuffs the bejesus out of people's regen. Where is it minus? Was it minus 500% regen? It will nail somebody for it. It's just absolutely freaking monstrous amount of regen that it's gonna. Where's there it is minus 500% regen on that one. So that's huge, right? Uh, just devastating. A lot of people, hey, it's a res, right? No, but it's a freaking offensive weapon, right? You can slot this thing to do more than just have people get up. You could slot it for damage, not that it's a big damaging attack, but you could slot it for all these other things. I didn't do it with this build, but I do have other miasma builds where I have done it that way. So yeah, that's a great power that you can use for offensive purposes as well. And then your last one is, maybe the signature power in Miasma. And that's of course, this is I think he's still the only defender set or buff set that has its own pet with Dark Servant. I mean, I guess you could argue Electric has it with Galvanic Sentinel, I guess. But I mean, this is like a true pet. This thing actually does a ton of different stuff. If you take a look at its summon information here, it's got Chill of Night, Darkest Night, it's got Twilight Grasp, it's got Tenebra's Tentacles, it's got Petrifying Gaze. It's thrown out all these things, and a bunch of those have minus to hit associated with it, so it's going to help debuff. It's essentially a mini version of you, a little mini defender out there. So between the pair of you and all your minus to hit stuff you're throwing out there, you are absolutely flooring the accuracy or the to hit of your enemies, and not just one of them, but the whole freaking group of them. As long as you can keep them clustered, you're debuffing all of them. And you have some really good tools to keep them clustered. You've got your tar patch, right? You've got Tenebra's Tentacles if you go ahead and take Dark Blast, because that has immobilization with it with Tenebra's Tentacles. So you've got ways to keeping things locked down in place. Fearsome Stare will pretty much paralyze everybody one spot. All right. So, bam, get them all clustered, debuff them, fear them, immobilize them, and just start unleashing hell on them. Okay. So, this is a very strong debuffing build. And then you compound that because you go ahead and you take Dark Blast. the power set, and all of your attacks just about have minus to hit. Dark Blast, your tier ones got minus to hit. Let me pull up the actual numbers so you can see. So Dark Blast, go over the effects. It's got, there we go, Dark Blast, boom. You've got minus 938. Let me turn off my incarnate stuff so I don't have any misleading information here. So Dark Blast, minus 938. Gloom, minus 938. You've got Tenebrous Tentacles, that's got 938 debuff, and it's got the Mag 3 Immobilize. You've got Nightfall, it's got another minus 938. You've got where is it? Black Star, your big old nuke, minus 62.5% debuff. Holy crap. Life Drain, I've got that one as well. That is another 938, right? So all these things, you start adding them up with your toggles, with your controls, all your other stuff, with what Dark Servant's doing. I mean, you can easily keep an entire group of enemies perma debuffed 50 to 100% to hit, floored. And this is really good against, higher level targets, that sort of thing that, can really like lay out a lot of damage against your team. It's also really nice when you can concentrate all that on like a tough enemy, like a, arch villain, a hero, giant monster, whatever. So boom, way to go. You stack it all together. Then Dark Blast, and what I did with my slotting again, as you gotta go through the sets here, I was attempting to get maximize as much resistance and that sort of thing. Plus, I Frankenslotted a couple things to make sure that my overall numbers, my damages were always 100% or so. I'm over cap on most of these things, but I've got a Thunderstrike set here, which has some defense in it, some accuracy in it. Gloom, I've got Superior Winter's Bite in there. That's giving me some more resistance. Fire and Cold, it gives me some resistance to movement and recharge debuffs. I Frankenstein that with a Thunderstrike in order to get, accuracy and damage up there as high as I could. Tenebrous Tentacles, I went ahead and slapped the Vigilant Assault ATO set in there, so that gives me the chance to plus absorb. I'm gonna get an absorb shield every time I use this because I'm hitting multiple targets with tentacles. I mean, it's got a pretty short range, but the arc is pretty nice. I mean, 40% is a nice, wide cone that you've got there. So boom, you got endurance, you're getting there, recharge, accuracy, damage buff. Plus, you're getting with the 6 slotting, you're getting some more defense out of that one. Moonbeam, I went ahead and grabbed the Experienced Marksman. This is I believe it's a purple set, and I have the fast snipe on there. So that means I can use this as an every, turn, every action. I can fire my snipe. I don't need to worry about interrupt or anything of that nature. I just fire away and go to town on people. Nightfall, I've got the other Defender ATO set in there. Defender's Bastion. So again, because it's a cone, because I've got this one doesn't have as great an arc. It's only got a 20-degree arc, so it's half of what Tentacles is. But I can usually line up enough guys that I'm going to get the PB AoE heal out of that proc to fire. Hit point boosting, range boosting, healing boosting, more defense, some recharge out of that. I already mentioned I got the Aegis, triple stacked in 3 different powers, giving me, the defense, the resistance, and just overall resistance with tough and weave and all the other stuff. Tough and dark embrace. What else we got here? We've got Black Star. Already talked about this a little bit. This is your big old nuke. So Black Star, that not only does a bunch of damage, but as I was talking about earlier, it's got this minus 62.5% debuff on to hit rolls. So one of the strategies you'll see me using is I'll open up from range with, maybe Fearsome Stare, maybe toggle drop or drop a Darkest Night out there, throw Tar Patch around a corner, throw some cone attacks out there to kind of start the debuffery. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into melee at some point within that fight, and I'm going to go with my Soul Drain, which is from my patron power pool. That's going to be a big old boost to damage 40% to hit 10%, right? I'm going to jump in there and bam, get a big old juicy hit on that. Follow that up with a Black Star nuke, right? Boom. That's going to deliver a huge amount of damage. What is it? Let me pop this open for you so you can see. So the damage that you can do with that soul drained Black Star, you're looking at 511, negative damage. I've got chance for fire in there, chance for smashing in there from the slotting I've got in Blackstar. I've got what Armageddon set in there. And I haven't even turned on my incarnate stuff. And then speaking of incarnate, I'm gonna follow it up with a void incarnate, which is your other PB AoE nuke. It's like Blackstar. And I have a minus damage on that one. So go into melee, you get yourself jacked up with the soul drain, and then boom, Blackstar, boom, void. You're doing a ton of damage. You're also going to debuff the crap out of their to hit and their damage back to you. So anybody who happens to manages to survive that, if they survive that, and don't forget you've also laid down Tar Patch, which is a 30% debuff to their damage resistance. You're gonna devastate. Anybody who's there is getting creamed. If they still are alive at that point, they're so debuffed they can't really scratch you, so you don't need to worry about it. And if they do, you throw out a Twilight Grasp and heal. No big deal. Then I also took Life Drain. Didn't really need to, but it gives me another single target blast. It's also a self heal, so that's always a nice little, extra something something. I can throw that into my attack chain, and I don't need to rely upon Twilight Grasp, especially if I'm soloing and I don't need to heal the whole team with Twilight Grasp. I just go in there and hit a Life Drain. And the numbers on that one, if I pull that up, as far as healing goes, what is that? 100 something. Open this up. Yeah, I think it's gonna be like 100 some healing on the total numbers. Damage, healing. It also debuffs, right? So it's a triple threat hit on that. That's life drain. Those are all your powers, right? So everything you're pretty much doing is minus to hit, and you got a bunch of little controls in there. You can res if you need to with Howling Twilight. You can debuff the crap out of. The other thing I want to say is the minus regen on. I already talked about it with Howling Twilight being 500% minus regen. That's huge against like arch villains and stuff. But you also have a minus regen built into your heal. So if you're up against some sort of AV or giant monster, whatever it is, and they've got a lot of healing that regeneration. If you can hit them with just, I will sometimes just put Twilight Grasp on auto and just keep spamming it as part of my attack chain because it does have a chance to do damage the way I have it slotted anyway. But it's also debuffing to hit. It's debuffing damage. It's debuffing regen. So it's a nice actual offensive support healing power. So you might as well throw it into your attack chain because it's debuffing to hit, regen, damage, and it's giving you a heal. And I've got the chance to do the negative energy damage with the touch of Nictus. So great, get another triple threat power. It's the thing I love with Dark is that you've got so many of these multifunctional powers that just combine together in beautiful synergy. And then the last thing I have is, of course, are my power pools. I've got hover mostly for maneuverability because I like to play the quarterback with this character. I like to hover above the fray. I can see what's going on. I can unleash, fearsome stare at stuff in front of me. If I see somebody getting, taking damage, I can swoop over there for a Twilight Grasp. I can throw out a hold on a hard target that might be running or something like that. I can drop my tar patches. I can see where to drop it more effectively. I can see where if my toggle's running away, I can catch them. So nice, hovering above, coning, blasting, controlling, supporting, debuffing. I mean, really, as a defender, you really got to be able to see the field. I mean, you are essentially quarterbacking the team. Not saying that you're charging in every fight and barking orders at people, but you know, follow defender or defender's following the main guy, whatever it is. They're supposed to be having a head on a swivel, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Then I took the fighting pool because I am going to be in melee a bunch, like I was already talking. Plus, I'm just going to be drawing attention with my toggles and my debuffs and my control stuff. It's going to pull aggro towards me, especially if there's no tank on the team, right? You're going to be the person. You can be the off tank. You can be the tank light with this build. Darkest Night's going to pull aggro. Your Fearsome Stare is going to bring you aggro. Howling Twilight will bring you freaking aggro for sure. All these things are going to bring you aggro, especially because you got a lot of damage over time, like Gloom, Nightfall, Tenebrous Tentacles. Those ticks are going to keep that enemy thinking, oh, that's the guy who just blasted me. So anyway, I've got fighting pool to help me with the defensive stuff. I got, obviously tough and weave with the toggles here. That's going to stack up with my total numbers, like that. I went and I guess maybe my throwaway power is cross punch on this one. I could take petrifying gaze, for instance, if I wanted to get another control. But I like cross punch. It's a fun, little melee cone. Once you get into that melee range with Black Star and Soul Drain and Void and whatever else you're doing, getting in or just punching two, three guys in the face with cross punch is awesome. Love it. You can knock guys down. You can stun them with it as well. It's pretty cool. And then I took combat jumping. For obvious reasons, gives me some resistance there to immobilization, so my mobility is not going to be impaired. You have to be able to move around. If you get immobilized, you're pretty much screwed at that point because you can't get into position for healing properly or get yourself away from attacks. So it's part of that maneuverability and able to see the battlefield. Plus, you get a little bit of defense on there. I threw a Luck of the Gambler in mine to get some more of the recharge. Then scooting this up, let's take a look at the Epic Power Pool, my patron set I grabbed. I went ahead with Soul Mastery. My original version of this character back on live was Dark Mastery, but then when City of Villains came out, I swapped over to Soul Mastery. It's just a better set, in my opinion. It's got a lot of overlap. I think like 3 of the 5 powers are the same. But I mean, a couple of the big ones are Soul Drain's huge. Don't. I think Dark Mastery does have Soul Drain. I think it also has Dark Embrace, but it has what the frick that Dark Consumption is terrible. That's probably one of the in the top three, four worst powers of the game. Dark Consumption's up there. It's so long a recharge. If I need it for endurance recovery, I need it for endurance recovery often, not every, what is it, on a 5 minute timer or something stupid like that. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Power Boost, way better option. Soul Storm, that single target, probably the best, coolest at least looking hold in the game. Does a decent chunk of damage. It's got this really cool animation when they're held. They're spinning like a pinata, and all your melee guys are just beating on them, right? I like to get them to spin, and then you blast them with your moonbeam. I didn't take the pet. I could have taken something, Mistress. Didn't need it. But, Soul Drain, nice little buff, especially diamond into melee. You can get a nice juicy buff out of that. Resistance shield here, smash, lethal, negative, toxic. So that helps stack with your tough. It stacks with your shadow fall. Gives you that toxic resistance that you might run into. Power boost is going to boost a whole bunch of your stuff. I mean, this is crazy. If you take a look at it, it's going to boost for 15 seconds a lot of your defenses, your to hit rolls. I think your minus to hits are boosted by this. If you take a look and I activate, yeah, Soul Drain, where's Power Boost? Let me turn on Power Boost here and take a look at the numbers with, for instance, Dark Blast. So Dark Blast, if I pull up pop a window. So right now with Power Boost, it's almost what 18, 19%. So before it was 9 something. You Power Boost, now you're like 19, 18, 19, 20% from a single blast attack. So I'm blasting you multiple times with multiple of these effects. And remember, this thing lasts for 6 seconds. So in 6 seconds, I can hit you with like 3 different blasts. So just with 3 blasts, power boosted blast, well, power boost is for 15 seconds. So in those 6 seconds, I probably hit you 3 times with, let's say, Dark Blast, Gloom, and Life Drain or Moonbeam or something like that. I mean, I'm like laying down, what is that, 50, 60% to hit the buff just by blasting you. I'm not doing anything else, right? I haven't even thrown Darkest Night at you. Darkest Night is juiced up to 48% when Power Boost is activated. It's freaking monstrous. Fearsome Stare is jacked up to 37%. So, I can sit here and Power Boost, Fearsome Stare, drop Darkest Night, and throw a blast out there all within that 15 seconds. Probably another blast on top of that. You're flooring somebody's to hit easily before Power Boost wears off. I mean, it's that simple, right? Boom, 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 done. So Power Boost to me is the reason to take Soul Mastery, at least for a defender, and I think Corruptors get that version as well. So boom, Soulstorm's also a beautiful power there. All right, so those are the main sets. Beyond that, let's talk about the incarnate powers that we've got. Because the big issue that I have, well, if we're talking about incarnates, let's look at the numbers and where I'm at right now. So if we look at my totals, you'll see what I was able to get with these sets. And, arguably, this is a fairly cheap build. Yeah, I've got a couple ATO sets and like one purple set, but I am nowhere near like a billion, 2 billion influence on this thing. This might be half a billion, if that. It's pretty cheap relatively speaking. But if you take a look at what you're able to do, let me turn off power boost again because check it out. Power boost boosts all those defenses. Bam, jacks them up like another what 15% or something like that. Let me turn off soul drain as well. So here's just you standing there. Let me turn off darkest night. Here's what you're looking like. You've got capped resistance to smash and lethal. You've got near capped and negative damage. You got really high energy and psionic resistances. And your fire, cold, and toxic are pretty solid at 26, 28%. Then your defense numbers are pretty decent, right? They're high teens, 20s, 30 some percent for fire and cold. And don't forget, you're laying out a whole ton of minus to hit. I mean, easily you got minus 50% constantly with your to hit debuffing, and you got the minus damage that you're able to throw out there if you got Darkest Night on or Twilight Grasp on an enemy or whatever it is that you're hitting them with, minus damage. So even if you happen to get hit, they are able to get through your minus to hit. The incoming damage is debuffed, and then you're resisting a whole bunch of it. Plus, you got some solid defenses up there. Oh, wait, you threw on Power Boost, you're taking even less hits. And even if all that gets through, you still have a heal. You got Twilight Grasp, you've got Life Drain, and don't forget Dark Servant also has a heal. So you've got three different ways to heal yourself. So this is a extremely powerful debuffing self survival build. I mean, you can literally off tank is the way I would put it. You can get in there, and as long as you got your toggles up, and endurance is going to be your problem. But if you kind of just sit there and just plink away a little bit, you can control as far as debuff goes like a hard single target enemy. I mean, you can theoretically debuff an AEV enough that it's barely going to lay a glove on it. It will get through. When it does, it's going to hurt. But as long as you can survive that odd hit against you, the thing can barely touch you. There's just so much debuffer you got going on there. And now we can talk about, hey, going ahead and activating incarnates. But the one thing I do want to show you is the weakness here, and that is just its the endurance issue. Because if you take a look here, right now my endurance recovery is 3-1, the drain is 1.5. So that's only about a 2-to-1 ratio, which to me is bare minimum. In other words, your incoming endurance versus your outgoing endurance. And this again is just pretty much standing there with my toggles on. I'm not blasting, I'm not losing a bunch of endurance from attacking. So this is a problem. And then when you go ahead and throw on Darkest Night, the numbers go up to 1.9 on your drain. So that is terrible. I like to get 2-to-1 minimum. 3-to-1 is my optimum. Higher than that, I'm super happy. So this is terrible. And when I've played her and I'm in, especially soloing is a challenge because of this against harder foes where you're having to fire a lot at people and you're trying to, let's say, manage your endurance and trying to keep toggles up. You usually have to shut stuff down. You usually have to shut off Darkest Night. You're usually gonna have to shut off, let's say, Sprint and get that a little more manageable so that you're not so, desperate for endurance. That's your really only chance of kind of staying in a long term fight. I did try to mitigate it a little bit with miracle plus recovery. I probably could do a better job slotting stamina. I do have them both at 55, 50 plus fives on there. I do have some plus endurance in some of my set bonuses, but I might need to take another pass through her build at some point to try to manage that a little bit more. My recharge, I wasn't really going for that, but I have a decent chunk of it. That's part of the problem too, because it makes you able to blast a lot faster, which just consumes your endurance a lot faster. So it's that double-edged sword. All right, but once you got your stuff going, Darkest Nights clicked, you're running your sprint, but you can power boost up, you got soul drain jacking up your to hits there. Those are all my toggles, right? Yeah, so boom, 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 lots of things going on. I can get some solid numbers across the board. Turn off power boost again, turn off soul drain again, turn off darkest night. Just running background numbers here. Let's take a look at the incarnates and see what they do to the build. Kind of scoot that up a little bit. Slide that down. There we go. All right, so if we take a look, I've got for my alpha, I went ahead with agility core paragon. That gives endurance mod, so it's gonna help some of that recovery issue. Recharge, which is gonna make my stuff like tar patch come back faster. Gonna make Howling Twilight come back faster. And then defense buffing, of course, is always a nice little perk. So if I go ahead and activate that, so once I'm hitting level 50, you can see the numbers for defense is increased about 3%. That's not a huge number, but it's, better than it was, right? Your recovery goes from 3-1 up to 3-3, so that's a slight improvement. The recharge is, where you're really getting a lot of payoff, I think, for this. So, for instance, let's take a look at Howling Twilight again. Let me shut the pop up window here. So, Howling Twilight, the recharge is down from 180. It's at 101.8. So it's about every, 90 seconds or so, every minute and a half, that's going to go off with that. All right. So that's kind of the benefit there. It's going to help you go down from 125 to 101. So shaving 20, 24 seconds off the recharge of that power. That power, I use it often enough that I want it up. Same thing with the Soul Drain. Soul Drain with my Incarnate activated up, the recharge is 101 seconds down from 240. So without it, I'm at 118. So about every 2 minutes, I can get it down to 101. So every 100 seconds, that's what every couple groups I've got Soul Drain back up, so I can get in there again, Soul Drain again, boom, go off. My nuke can come back faster as well. My nuke recharge is 54.76, so I'm under a minute on that. So that's, at least every two groups I've got my nuke ready to go. So agility is a nice thing, but again, the recharge is going to make me burn through my endurance a lot faster. So that's again the double-edged sword on that. To kind of mitigate that a bit, I did grab Ageless, so this is going to give me the plus endurance, plus recharge again. Debuff resistance, I think, is maybe the unsung hero of Ageless, at least on the radial side of things. Because you're going to get debuffed a bunch in the game, especially higher level, minus hit, minus defense, minus resistance, whatever. So Ageless, when you click it, gives you a pretty beefy resistance to those things so that you're not floored as hard as you normally would be. So boom, I click that. Take a look at what effect it has on my overall numbers. Go ahead and drag this down again. See a little bit better. There we go. So if I go ahead and look at Ageless, all right, you're getting a 75% endurance, but I want to take a look at my totals now. So with Ageless clicked, all right, my recharge numbers back up. Recharge goes from 43.8 to 113.18 right there. So that's a huge boost in recharge. It's gonna give me a bunch of endurance back. Not a full bar, but 3/4 of one. So that's a nice mid-fight kind of a click option for you. But really, the recharge is nice. I don't really need it. The endurance is what I need, and it's just this single shot, and then you gotta wait for it to recharge again. So that's kind of like maybe I should go core side. I think is where you got the recovery boost for that. So maybe that. But I do like the debuff resistance. That is nice. That's the trade-off. You had to go recovery up the core side, or you get debuff resistance on the radial side. So there you go. And then I've got for my interface, this is going to increase my debuffing. I've got minus defense, minus damage. So as I already said, I've got minus damage from things like, what is it? Twilight Grasp. If I go ahead and click on Twilight Grasp here, your damage debuffing, let me go back here and shut this off for a second. So you've got normally minus 12 and a half when this thing is on. Does it show the numbers on here? Maybe it doesn't show it. Paralytic. It's going to apply another 5% damage debuff per, proc per hit. It says it doesn't stack from the same caster, which I thought it stacked a few times, but I don't know. But anyway, it's another 5% damage debuff, so that's going to turn Twilight Grasp in like a minus 17.5 percent damage debuff. It's going to turn, what is it, Howling Twilight has? No, sorry, Darkest Night has the 20, was it 37.5 damage debuff. So, you throw paralytic out there and you're hitting with a blast. Now your enemy has 42 and a half defense or damage debuff. Plus, you hit him with Twilight Grasp on top of that. That's going to give you another six and a, or sorry, 12 and a half. I mean, you're debuffing their damage, what, 50% more? Come on. Again, adding this all up, you're able to just abuse the enemy with all these different abilities of power. And I got the minus defense in there to kind of make it easier, obviously, to hit. It's only 2.5% defense debuff. But again, I thought that this is stackable, but then in mids it's saying it's not. But again, it's going to help because you do need to hit. You're trimming off a little bit of defense, but that's not your game anyway. Your game is making it so they can't hit you or reducing their effectiveness so much that their damage coming through is nothing. And you'd be surprised how your teammates are like, "Oh my God, this is so easy," as they're just mowing through things, but they never attribute it to your dark abilities, right? Especially if you're playing on like a team where there's a lot of lower level people, like maybe a radio team, and there's somebody, 54 times 8 group, and you're on the team with them, and all these lobies are like, oh yeah, this is so easy. Because they're not getting hit, right? And they're thinking, hey, we're mashing things. And then as soon as you shut off your toggles and stuff, and then you watch them getting mowed, or they get cocky and decide to run ahead and run around and get out of your line of sight, and you can't help them, and they just get destroyed because they're not in the range of your debuffs. Never outrun your dark defender guys, okay? Or controller, corruptor, whatever the hell you're playing. Boom. Then I got the Void. I already mentioned Void. Void, of course, is going to have a huge damage debuff that I grab with the radial side of things. So another minus 50%. So again, I throw out Darkest Night's debuff. Twilight Grasp is debuffing. I've got Paralytic is debuffing your damage. Now Void is going to debuff. I mean, I can lower your damage like 100%. I don't know what the cap is on damage debuffing, but probably 90% or something like that. So you're getting tickled at that point once you've unloaded your void, and the debuff is 30 seconds. 30 seconds that group is dead in a team, right? And come on, crushed them. Then I grabbed Control Radial Embodiment. This is a nice one for at least this build. With Control Radial, you get the chance for fear, the chance to immobilize, and the chance to stun. So this is what you're getting here. So it has a Mag 2 Immobilize and a Mag 2 Fear, 70% chance for those to proc when you're hitting and damaging stuff. So not only do you have Fear from Fearsome Stare, not only do you have Immobilize from Tenebrous Tentacles, but all your attacks are now able to, any damage attack can now proc some more Immobilize, proc some more Fear. And then it'll also proc a stun if I believe they're under both of those. If you hit a target that's already immobilized in fear and it procs again, they're stunned. And the stun can stack with your Howling Twilight. Or if you happen to pick up Dark Pit, it could stack with that. That, in fact, could be an option for, let's say, instead of taking Cross Punch, I might throw in Dark Pit here to give me some more control because I know I can stack the crap out of stuns then on top of everything else I'm doing. So just be total abuse that you're able to lay out with this combination of powers and power sets and everything else that I've got going. And the last thing I got here are the Knives of Vengeance is my Incarnate lore pet. I like the boss. I took the radial side, so I do have the support with the I forget what the hell they call that one. The Protector. Let's point support doesn't even give it its name. I'm not even sure what the hell it does, but the boss is sweet. The boss has a bunch of guns and shoots stuff, right? So it's got a dual shot, paralytic shot, weakening shot. Those have debuffs associated with them, so that's another reason why I took it, or one of the reasons I took it. Dual shot has minus damage, right? Hey, some more minus damage you're gonna get. Paralytic shot can minus regen. That's cool. It has a chance, has a hold. Weakening shot has minus defense, minus damage, minus to hit, minus heal, minus end. So a bunch of debuffing shots that your boss is laying out there. So you throw that pet out there along with Fluffy, your Dark Servant, along with the stuff you're unleashing. Trust me, enemies are just like, what the hell just hit us? They don't know what's going on. Are you like doing gobs and gobs of damage? No, you can lay out some good damage, don't get me wrong, but you're not like pure just destructo mode. I build for some decent damage across the board. Like everything's, capped as far as 100% damage for each, blast and whatever thing I've got in there. I do have some damage procs in here as well. So I can lay it out there, don't get me wrong. But the main thing is you're just debuffing the living bejeekers out of things. And you got those defender, modifiers on your debuffs as well, which really helps things. So this is very effective for, the defender side. Corruptor, you could probably do something pretty close, maybe, 10-20% less overall, debuffing power, but theoretically get more damage out of that build. Just with the scourging and stuff, especially with Nightfall and Tenebrous Tentacles. That's something else, I could maybe try make the inverted build of this with a corruptor and just do a head-to-head comparison. That might be a fun little experiment to do at some point. But anyway, there you go. I'm pretty sure that she is tier 4 and everything too. I think I'm pretty high vet level on her, like vet level 30 something or 40 something. I forget. All right, so there you go. That is the Dark Current build. This is my very first level 50 that I had on live. Took me like a year or so to do it back then. This time around with Homecoming, I, got her partially power leveled up, within, I don't know, like a week or something like that. And I haven't played her nearly as much as I should, but I wanted to rebuild her from live. So there you go. Hopefully that's a cool build for you, some good ideas. Like and subscribe if you're into that sort of stuff. And don't forget to tune in to the follow-up video to this, which is going to be her solo run, taking on some council at level 52 and 53, times 6 times 8. This will be my first non Veet and Heat to take on the revamped console. So I'm going to be curious to see how she handles those stupid updated galaxies that I've been bitching about my last 4 videos. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get a team going together and jump on a team. And you'll see, I think, how this quarterbacking concept or how she's able just to debuff this out of stuff is gonna really show. All right, I'll catch you in the next vid. Peace out.